Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Howard Dennis, and I am the chairman of WSSC Water, representing Montgomery County. On behalf of WSSC Water and its staff, I welcome you to this hearing on our proposed budget for fiscal year 2022. Joining me are fellow commissioners Eloise Foster and Fausto Bayonet. I would now like to introduce members of our leadership team and key staff who are with us this evening. Our General Manager, Carla Reed, Director of Customer Service, Crystal Knight Lee, Budget Division Manager, Letitia Carolina Powell, and Operating Budget Section Manager, Julie Pohutsky. Tonight's hearing will give citizens an opportunity to comment on the agency's proposed capital and operating budget and rate requirements for fiscal year 2022. These hearings continue WSSC Water's commitment to transparency and follow extensive public outreach efforts. Please note that this public hearing is only for the FY 2022 proposed budget. The highlights of the proposed budget have been prepared in summary form and included in the preliminary proposed budget that was distributed for public review in January. The FY 2022 estimated expenditures for all funds amount to nearly $1.6 billion, or about $98 million more than WSSC Water's FY 2021 approved budget. In accordance with the spending affordability guidelines established by each county, WSSC Water is proposing a 5.9% average rate increase. This rate increase will add approximately $3.94 per month to the bill of a customer using 165 gallons per day. Given that most of our residential customers are billed quarterly, the additional amount would be $11.83 a quarter for the typical three-person household. I would now like to ask the Budget Division Manager, Letitia Carolina Powell, to brief us on the preliminary proposed budget.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Letitia Carolina Powell, and I'm the Budget Division Manager for WSSC Water, and I will be providing an overview of the fiscal year 22 preliminary proposed capital and operating budget. Next slide. We did extensive public outreach and used a variety of methods to inform our customers of tonight's public hearing. We included a front page article about the public hearings in our customer newsletter, Pipeline, which was delivered to WSSC customers in October, November, and December. We placed an ad in the Washington Post that appeared on January 7th. We issued 2 news releases to local media and key stakeholders, emailed hearing details to customers via Constant Contact, posted information on WSSC Water's website, and promoted them on our social media sites, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Tonight's meeting is also broadcast on County Cable Montgomery. Next slide. WSSC Water system is extensive and covers approximately 1,000 square miles. The system includes 2 water filtration plants, one on the Potomac River and one on the Patuxent River, 6 water resource recovery facilities, more than 11,000 miles of water and sewer pipes, 3 water storage dams and reservoirs, 60 water storage tanks, 55 wastewater pumping stations, more than 43,000 fire hydrants, 17 solar panels that help us reduce our carbon footprint and lower our energy costs, and 0 water quality violations in our 102-year history. Next slide. This budget supports all of our strategic priorities, which are to enhance customer experience, spend customer dollars wisely, optimize infrastructure, protect our resources, and transform employee engagement. Next slide. This slide lists some terms that you will hear during this presentation. The capital budget funds long-term investment like infrastructure and facilities like the items listed on the previous slide. Debt service consists of principal and interest payments on money borrowed for the capital budget. The operating budget pays for the daily business of running WSSC Water, including maintenance and debt service. Pay-as-you-go, also known as PAYGO, funds capital expenditures with cash instead of debt. Next slide. Okay. Let me talk briefly about the ready-to-serve charges. As you know, WSSC Water is a nonprofit public utility, and our rates produce only the revenues needed to support our services and operations. Along with the variable rates, which are based on the volume of water used, our rate structure is also comprised of fixed fees that are fixed regardless of the volume of water used. Our ready-to-serve charges represent those two fixed fees. Simply put, ready-to-serve charges ensure that we are ready to serve our customers 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year with safe, seamless, and satisfying water services. For the 5th year in a row, there is no change to either of our ready-to-serve charges. The account maintenance fee recovers costs associated with the expenses and overhead of maintaining each service and servicing each account. This includes the cost of purchasing and reading meters, generating and mailing bills, collecting payments, and providing exceptional customer service. For the typical residential home with a 3/4-inch meter, the fee remains at $16 per quarter. The infrastructure investment fee funds a portion of the debt service associated with our water and sewer main reconstruction program. Again, for a typical residential home with a 3/4-inch meter, the fee remains $12 per quarter. Both fees are prorated based on the number of days in the billing cycle. The bay restoration fee is a $15 per quarter fee levied by the state of Maryland. WSSC Water collects the fees and sends them to the Comptroller of Maryland for the restoration of the health of the Chesapeake Bay. Regional sewage disposal. Not all of WSSC Water's wastewater is treated at WSSC facilities. Regional sewage disposal is WSSC Water's share of maintenance and operating costs at DC Water's Blue Plains wastewater treatment plant. Next slide. This slide shows the budget by major expense category. The preliminary proposed operating budget is $852 million. Because WSSC Water is capital extensive and borrows money to finance capital expenditures, the largest portion of the operating budget is debt service at 37%. Next slide. The preliminary proposed capital budget is $700.9 million. Contract work is 63% of this budget. Next slide. The combined capital and operating budget totals nearly $1.6 billion and includes a 5.9% rate increase. This is basically a same service level budget with modest increases to fund essential improvements. A typical customer using 165 gallons per day would see an $11.83 increase on a quarterly bill. Again, there's no increase in the infrastructure investment fee and the account maintenance fee. This budget includes 4 new positions to support the production and customer service departments. The total budget increases by 6.7%. The capital budget increases by 15.8%, while the operating budget increases only by 0.3%. Next slide. This budget provides $3.3 million in financial assistance, an increase of $100,000 from the current fiscal year 21. It complies with mandated consent decrees and funds comprehensive sewer rehabilitation in the Piscataway Basin to reduce infiltration and inflow. It includes nearly $410 million in new water and sewer debt to fund capital projects and pays $317 million in debt service. $3.2 million is also included for tank rehabilitation as well as limited compensation enhancements given the challenging fiscal environment. Next slide. This budget funds critical projects, including cybersecurity enhancements, maintenance and repairs at our facilities. It also includes $1.2 million for hydraulic dredging at our Triadelphia Reservoir and replacement of 37.5 miles of water mains and 45.4 miles of sewer mains and lateral lines. $71.1 million is included for large diameter pipe rehabilitation. And again, this fully funds WSSC Water's share of the cost of operating treating our wastewater at DC Water's Blue Plains wastewater treatment plant. Next slide. As we do every year, our team remains vigilant stewards of the public's money and continuously looks for cost-saving opportunities. Our supply management project has led to over $41 million in cost reductions and nearly $37 million in cost avoidance savings. If it were not for this project, higher rate increases would have been necessary. Group insurance savings of $5.1 million has been realized since fiscal calendar year 2017. We currently have 30 frozen positions, and we have reduced overtime expenses by $4.7 million since fiscal year 2017. We also implemented a COVID savings plan and identified more than $130 million in budget cuts. And for FY21, we identified $72.7 million in cuts, and in FY20, $57.4 million. In addition, we continue to maintain our AAA bond rating, which ensures that we are able to borrow money at much lower rates and thereby save our customers money. That wraps up the presentation.
Thank you, Letitia. Before we begin public testimony, do any of my fellow commissioners have any comments?
No.
Hearing
No, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Forster?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Annette,
I
thank
want
you.
to thank her for the excellent presentation.
Absolutely. As a reminder, the dial-in number is 240-800-7929, and the conference ID is 246-712-350#. This hearing record will be kept open until Monday, February 15th, and we will consider all public comments received by that date. The budget will then be transmitted to the executive and councils of both counties on March 1st. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes. Speakers, please provide your name and indicate whether you are currently a WSSC Water customer. If your comments are longer than 3 minutes, you may provide the remainder of your comments via email or regular mail. We will now receive public comments via the dial-in number.
Good evening and welcome to WSSC Water's public hearing. You're now joining the meeting. If you could, just state your name, the county you reside, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Thank you. My name is Catherine Katzen, and I live in Montgomery County. And calling tonight to thank you for deferring the AMI Smart Meter project. Asking today that you remove it from the CIP. The CIP is funded by debt, that adds to rate increases that people water customers are struggling right now with high rates of unemployment and economic uncertainty, and this is not the time to pass a rate increase on to them. So please take the AMI Smart Meter project out of the CIP for for good reason. The project of it doubled overnight to more than $200 million. We need to be closely evaluating project costs to make sure that they're reasonable and appropriate, and this one is not. This action would ensure that AMI undergoes necessary scrutiny when the economic landscape improves, should WSSC want to revisit it. But I ask that you please remove the AMI project from the CIP. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is now in the meeting. Welcome to WSSC Water's public hearing. If you could state your name, the county you reside, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Can you hear me?
Sure can.
Natalie Rosser, Montgomery County. Good evening, Commissioners and Budget Team. I attest and affirm that the following statements are true, accurate, and within my personal knowledge. As you may remember, I often stated my opposition to AMI for various reasons, one being the financial burden it would impose on ratepayers. This evening, I'm opposing the proposed 5.9% rate increase for the same reason. It's all part of the same story. The capital budget ties into the operation budget, and due in part to previous excessive spending on capital projects, in addition to revenue losses, WSSC is currently facing challenges paying its bills. History is repeating itself. With less than 90 days cash reserve, the debt service at 37%, and the debt service coverage ratio below target, WSSC is broaching insolvency. It's important to note WSSC has similar statistics prior to the COVID-19 pandemic. I can only hope this group of commissioners will distinguish themselves and turn things around for the better before the state intervenes like it did over 20 years ago. I'm calling for an expedited independent insolvency audit, an expedited independent management audit of spending and revenue controls, an expedited independent lost water audit, and expedited independent audits of both the large diameter water pipe and large valve rehabilitation program and the trunk sewer restoration program, all made available to the public. Of the increase, 5.1% is to recover lost revenue, the majority of which is related to the COVID pandemic, interest income, and sewer. Yet lost water mitigation is not addressed in this budget. Due to COVID, teleworking is likely to continue until fiscal year 22, resulting in continued losses of water and sewer revenue from your commercial and government customer base. Surprisingly, WSSC's budget is based on a healthy economic turnaround by July. Failure to replace aging infrastructure that prevents water main leaks and underbuilding, mostly from old, large government facilities, accounts for 18% of production that is not billed. In addition, WSSC has been monitoring a decline in sewer revenue for 3 years. As of October 2020, management had not identified all the factors driving that revenue shortfall. Meanwhile, more than $33 million has slipped through the cracks, and ratepayers are expected to foot the bill, justifying the need for more timely analyses and courses of action. Identifying all the sources of lost water, how and why it came to be, as well as a comprehensive corrective plan of action is crucial to rectify these revenue losses and prevent the undue pressure put on ratepayers to make up for these shortfalls. Increasing rates to stay below the debt ceiling in order to make up for revenue decline is not sustainable for your ratepayers. I urge you to find more ways that will reduce costs from the capital and operating budgets, invest in revenue-generating projects like infrastructure replacement, and make any and all rate increases contingent on the complete list of independent audits I mentioned earlier, all made available to the public as soon as possible.
Ms.
I
Ross,
have presented
that's
no
3
matter
minutes.
of mere concern or any other non-substantive matter, but solely matters of substance and of fact. Good night.
Thank you very much. And our next speaker is now in the meeting. Welcome to WSSC Water's public hearing. If you could state your name, the county you reside, and you'll have 3 minutes to provide your testimony.
Thank you. My name is Anna Pritchard, and I live in Montgomery County. I thank you so much for allowing me to speak with you, to the WSSC Commissioners and Corporate Secretary this evening. I really appreciate it. First, I would like to thank you very sincerely for deferring the AMI Smart Meter Water Project. Because of your decision, I am very relieved, and many of my friends and neighbors are as well, because of the health concerns, the opt-out fees, and the increasing water bills. Thank you so much for that. Second, I would like to ask you to please, respectfully, I ask you to please remove the AMI advanced metering infrastructure from your capital improvement program, because this would give me and many others in my area more peace of mind because of the financial pitfalls many of us are experiencing now, and because it would ensure that there would be very careful consideration before ever moving forward again with the AMI project. And third, I would like to, in general, would like to state that in general, ratepayers are struggling to pay their bills at this time and have many other financial stresses. And I would like to ask that respectfully to suggest to you to try to identify more cost savings somehow so that it would prevent our water usage cost from becoming even more expensive for all of us. So because increasing water bills would cause a great deal of financial stress for me and many others at this time. So that's all I wanted to say, and I thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Chairman Dennis, that was the last participant who was on the Teams call.
Thank you, Chuck, and thank you to all the callers. I would now like to ask Julie Pohutsky of the Budget Division to report on any written correspondence that has been received for the record.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Julie Pohutsky, and I'm the Operating Budget Section Manager. There have been 2 pieces of correspondence received for inclusion in the record of this public hearing. One is from Ms. Hauk, who has concerns over WSSC's water approach to recovering costs through rate increases. Another is from Ms. Serville, who has concerns about the fluoride in WSSC's water. If any new correspondence is received, it will be included in the next commission package, become a part of the record of this hearing, and be transmitted to the 2 counties. We will also provide a transcript of this hearing to the counties. Thank you, and have a nice evening.
Thank you, Julie. And thank you for participating tonight in our budget process. This public hearing is now concluded.